if I had a question, I didn't necessarily have a community to go to. And I love the fact that within the academy, we have the Slack channel. So if I'm working on a project and I have a question, I can just go there and pose my question. A peer or one of the coaches can reply. And there's just this sense of togetherness.
Hello, hello. It's Holly Rustick here with Grant Writing and Funding, and I have Daphne Jean on the podcast today to talk about all about quitting your job and being a full-time grant writer. And we are going to get into it. I love it so much. So, y'all, this is Daphne Jean, founder and principal consultant of SMJ Consulting. Welcome to the podcast, Daphne.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be here.
Yes, I love it so much. So excited. So, and you've been in the academy for almost a year, super
Yes.
excited. And you quit your job a few years ago, but you were doing full-time consulting for a while. So yeah, so tell us how you got into that and all the things.
Yes. So I quit my job in 2021. During that time, we had gotten the vaccine. COVID was kind of like, I don't want to say the pandemic was declining, but there was a vaccine, there was like a way forward. And I had been at my organization for 5 years. I really wanted to do grant writing, but there wasn't an opportunity to do that. So I was just like, why not quit? I've been here for 5 years. I just went through this global pandemic. Everything worked out. I really didn't have a plan, to be honest. And for anyone who knows me, that is not me. I'm a planner. I like to organize things. But it was really time for me to find something else to do. What was really nice about the time that I decided to quit, I had gotten subcontracting role as a grant writer for a local community-based organization working with migrant women fleeing gender-based violence. So I was just like, okay, I have this, I have a little bit something to fall back on. And I was just like, I'll just become a grant writer. And I tried to do it on my own. But I soon learned that it was a little bit harder than I had imagined. I'm a problem solver, so I love thinking about, okay, how do we solve this? Like, what needs to happen? And I just kept hitting a wall. I didn't really know how to sell like my grant writing because by the time that I quit, I just thought, okay, I have the skill, people need it, and people will hire me. But when you are a freelancer, you really have a business and you really have to think about your business offers. How do you price them? And I remember I started following all of the seasoned grant writers, and I'm pretty sure that's how I found out about you. I was following everyone on LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, there are the big fishes. They've been doing this forever. They know what they're doing. I was just like, so what do I do? Do I just work with them? And I did end up working as a consultant for a firm for like 18 months. And I'm so lucky for that opportunity. I learned to write for so many different nonprofit organizations. I would say I'm a generalist when it comes to being a grant writer. I was writing about like 3 to 4 grant application per week, not
Oh
per
my
month.
gosh.
So it was a lot. It was a lot of work. And then I decided to leave the firm and I was like, okay, what's next? I thought about getting a 9 to 5, but I was like, that's not really what I want to do. So I was like, okay, let me just work on my business full time.
Yeah.
And that was August 2023. And again, I was trying to do it on my own.
Hmm.
And I like to teach myself things, but then it became clear that, hey, it can take you 5 to 10 years to
Right.
learn this.
Yeah.
Why don't you learn from a coach? I had registered for your newsletter and I saw that the academy was opening for new cohort. And I was like, okay, I'm joining this webinar. I joined the webinar, and everything that you shared really resonated with the help, the assistance that I needed. I don't want to say I'm a cynic per se. I'm not. I think for me at the time, it was kind of like, I can learn this on my own, right? But what really changed my mind was that you had a curriculum where people could learn. So it's not like you have like Zoom meeting where you teach us things, but it was really self-paced. So it was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm self-motivated. I can like motivate myself to do this program. So that really encouraged me to sign up for the academy, because it wasn't like, I'm going to give you all of this and you're going to grow your business in the next 5 to 9 months. Those programs didn't really resonate with me. I really
Yeah.
wanted to learn, and I really love the fact that your program has a curriculum with very specific items, such as like learning how to price your services, um, having an onboarding process. So it was really geared toward like teaching me how to run my business.
Yeah, I love that. I love it so much that, yeah, that you found that support, and even, yeah, like coming from that era, we should call it the era, the 21. I remember those times. Yeah, and were you even at that point, has your job before used to be in person and then you were teleworking? Is that kind of too, where you're like, oh, this could actually be a thing?
So my job prior to the pandemic was in-house. I would have to go
Mhm.
into the office,
Right.
and my organization would give us like every other Friday off, which was really nice because we didn't have to work at all. So
Good.
for me, it wasn't necessarily like I wanted to stay home. It was really like I needed to figure out how I wanted to work. And
Yeah.
I don't think we have this conversation. I think it's
Yeah.
only after being in the workforce for a while where you like, oh, a 9 to 5. I was taught this was the only option, but maybe it's not really for me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. And I know there was all the great resignation going on at that time, quiet quitting, like a lot of things were happening too, because the world was so shaken up that it was like, oh, people can actually work in different capacities rather than having a 9 to 5. And even though, a lot of people had been doing that, it just wasn't in the mainstream. And I think once it got into the mainstream, it really took hold. So I'm actually happy because I hadn't been in the mainstream for a long time before that. But once I saw, and I was like, kind of like preaching to people that were like, okay, but that's just for like unicorns. And I was like, no, it's not. It's not. It's for anybody that can do it. Anyone can make that choice for themselves. So I love that you took the time to be like, wait, there could be another way. And then even having that other way. And I love too that you started though with kind of like this hybrid approach, which was being a subcontractor.
Yes.
So that's really cool. And we do recommend, like, yeah, if you're new to this, if you're wanting to quit your job or transition out, one of the best ways to do that is to get a subcontracting position where you still kind of have a boss, but you're a consultant. And, so you have some structure where you're not having to like figure out your prices overnight, figuring out your marketing overnight, figure out your offers overnight. Like you have some time to do that. So I'm so glad that that's the route that you took. Like, do you feel like that was really helpful too, to see how somebody else runs a business? Did you get some nuggets from that? Or like, oh, I should do this and I shouldn't do that?
I didn't get I didn't get that much nuggets from them because I was a lead writer, so my main responsibility was just
Just
writing.
right. Yeah.
Yes,
So it's
just
kind of like an
writing.
employee kind of feel again.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that must have made it too, like when you're like, okay, but now I want to do this on my own because I've been in this hybrid position, but then like no systems, right? Like no, like, oh, I gotta, ooh. So how was that?
I subcontracted for like multiple grant writers, firm, and even organizations. It always looked different.
Mm-hmm.
um, I hear what you are saying. It's like you still didn't have a system, right?
Yeah.
And it now that I think about it, there weren't that many systems for me, right? To
Yeah.
decide, okay, so how do I show up? How do I actually write this report? And because I was doing it for so long, I kind of just started to go with the flow. And again, I'm a very like organized person, but once you don't have those like system and processes in place, you kind of just like go with the flow. And I
Yeah.
remember one of the first things that I got a live coaching from you about was just like, I feel like I'm starting from scratch every
Mm.
time I do that. I'm delivering a new grant application, letter of inquiry, grant report to a client. And you really encouraged me to really have certain processes in place because that was really going to help me with my own productivity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just your brain. Right? Like, yeah.
Yes.
It can
Yes.
get whoa all over the place. And especially if you are subcontracting for different subcontractors, they all have their own way of how they want doing. So you kind of have to adjust instead of having
Yes.
them adjust to you. So when you have direct clients, you can have them adjust more to your processes. But as a subcontractor, you do have to adjust to them. So it has more of that employee kind of feel, like employee employer, even though it's hybrid. So this year, so you've been in almost a year. Yes, and then so tell us, like, what has been helpful, and how has your business changed, right, in the last year?
Working as a contractor, subcontractor, it was a bit isolating, to be
Mhm.
honest. And I think a lot of us do grant writing and we are comfortable being introvert. But at the same time, if I had a question, I didn't necessarily have a community to go to. And
Mhm.
I love the fact that within the academy, we have the Slack channel. So if I'm working on a project and I have a question, I can just go there and pose my question. A peer or one of the coaches can reply. And there's just this sense of togetherness. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
we all like are in this together. We bring different experience, different expertise to this work. So I really appreciate the community of the academy.
Mhm.
And I also really love the curriculum,
Mhm.
learning learning how to create like a proposal process, how to have discovery sales call. I didn't have this before. I was like having meeting with prospective clients, but I wasn't necessarily sure how to drive the conversation, the type
Right.
of information that I needed to ask them in order to actually vet if I am the right grant writer for them. I have gained a lot of different knowledge about running SMJ Consulting, um, thanks to the academy.
Oh, I love that. And what about your sales and revenue? Have you seen it go up? Have you seen your clientele go up, or just ideal clients, that sort of thing?
Yes. So since I've been in the academy, I've secured $93,000 in revenues. Uh, it's uh, yes, it's definitely an accomplishment. Having great discovery sales call, having like clear process to onboard clients, and working on service delivery. Those are all important. And I learned about all of those in the academy. I know recently we did like the Freedom to Fail challenge.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you encourage all of us to do was to have like service offer promise.
Mhm.
And I recently onboarded a client and I'm excited to have my second conversation with her. And one of the conversation will be about my service
Offer
delivery
one.
to her.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, we are getting close to the first 30 days. These were the service delivery, and
Mhm.
we are on track to achieving them. Because one of the things that I had experienced being a grant writer, everybody just wants you to have the money, right?
Yeah.
But it can take time to bring in the money.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But when you are able to sit down with a client and talk to them like, okay, within the first 30 days, I was able to write a master grant application template for you. And going forward, we will be submitting up to 3 grant applications per month. I think those really help the client see the value that you do bring to their organization.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And congratulations, $93,000. So
Yeah.
2025, we're hitting that six-figure mark easy. Easy, girl. And I love
I
how
hope
too,
so.
it's like,
I
yeah,
hope so. I hope
I hope so.
so.
You
I
got
hope
it.
so.
Okay.
Yes.
You got it
Yes.
for sure. And I think too, hearing that when I was subcontracting, I was writing 3 to 4 grants a week. And now you're talking about your service deliveries, 3 to 4 a month. Like, so you've been able to really hone down, like, be more conservative with your time as well, and expectations and all of the things, and really figure out, are those all needed? Are they just trying to check boxes, right? Like, it feels like when you're explaining your business just now and how you onboard and how you explain deliverables, like, it's such a mature company, right? It's like,
Thank
whoa,
you.
this girl's professional. I love it. Yes. So,
Thank
and that's what
you.
we
Thank
encourage you
you.
all to do. Like, this is how you can set it up, have processes
Yeah.
that reduces your time. So do you feel like this year too, that you've actually been working a little more on your business, but less in your business? Have you been able to create more space for yourself because your service delivery is a little bit more streamlined?
I think we've had this we've had this
Mhm.
conversation like 6 months ago. I think for me, I'm still learning how to separate working in my business and
Mhm.
working for my business. The good thing is I am having more clarity
Yeah.
about the difference
Yeah.
between the two. I started using Toggle
Yes.
and
Taking your time. Yep. Mhm.
and now every single day I kind of just review what I'm working on. And I'm like, okay, I'm still spending a lot of time replying to clients' email because one of my service delivery is my communication.
Right.
I
Yeah.
reply within 24 hours.
Mhm.
But for me, now I'm just like, okay, but do you really have to spend that much time replying to your email when what the client wants to see is revenues
Right.
from grants? So for me, I can't continue to only work within it. I need to work for it. And I do
Mhm.
need to take like a step back in regards to doing certain things. One of my goals for 2025 is actually to onboard a junior grant writer.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and are you thinking about utilizing the network for that?
It seems like a lot of the people in the academy are experienced. And in the past couple of months, I've had a couple of individual reach out to me just to have informational interview, as
Oh.
asking me about my trajectory into grant writing, which was so funny to me because I'm just like, wow, so people are actually looking at me like she has
Big.
achieved something
Yes, girl.
that I want to emulate. And talking to those people to see if they would be interested in the role. For me, it's really about kind of like giving those who are new to the field a really great experience.
Yeah.
Yes, they will be part of the business, but with the master grant application that I utilize for my processes, I think it will be very useful for them to have just to kind of help them learn
Yeah.
about how to write a grant. So I'm really looking to kind of be like a coach, a mentor.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
I love that. And I know a lot of people, they like to find people in the academy to subcontract or to hire into their company because they know they're getting the same training and the same, right?
Mm.
So for grant writing, it's they know they're like, we're speaking the same language. And then they know too, like, oh, I don't have to submit all those grants for review. They can submit them for review, and they're getting review and
Mm.
feedback in the program.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty fun. I love seeing that and just having the resources available, right,
Yeah.
for you guys to connect. So,
Yeah.
so good. So overall, like, in the past year, getting your company to $93,000, getting all of your systems in place, a
Yeah.
clear service offer promise, like all of it, increasing your conversion on discovery calls and knowing how to run them. Like, what have you found the most useful, like top three most useful things in the academy?
Top three most useful things in the academy. I think for me, it would definitely be the master grant application. For me, it's a tool that really allow you to be more efficient with your grant writing. And I've been in multiple discovery sales call where people just want me to come in and start writing grant application. And for me now, I'm well aware that the master grant application serves a couple of purposes. A, it helps me orient to the organization.
Yeah.
It helps me get very clear about the work that the nonprofit organization is doing, enabling me to better prospect for the right funding
Right.
opportunities for them. Now I have this conversation during the discovery sales call, and I'm just really excited about how much more productive I am as a grant writer with that tool. I think for me, the second most important takeaway from the academy is learning how to create specific services and
Mhm.
how to price them.
Yeah.
You can go on Google and do a research about like how much you should charge for different grant application,
Mhm.
different grant writing deliverables, letter of inquiries. You're going to get a wide range and
Yes.
it's really going to confuse you. And I even love the fact that even though almost every single week somebody probably do ask you about pricing, you
Yep.
never tell them here's the price.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you encourage them to think about like different factors, so that way they can create their own pricing structure. And for me, that has been very helpful because I always have to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, does this pricing structure make sense? A,
Mm.
for the organizations that I work for their
Yep.
budget, and also
Yep.
for the services
Mhm.
that I am providing them. And this conversation for me are very useful because it has kind of like empowered me to
Mhm.
really understand what I am offering to a
Yeah.
nonprofit organization. Because I do come across a lot of nonprofit organization who frankly have a limited operating budget,
Yeah.
and sometimes sometimes I do want to help because I understand like the issue that they are addressing, and I want to be some sort of support. But now I know I'm just like, okay, what is your budget? Okay,
Right.
can we do X, Y, and Z for now, and maybe later we can do like Z. So I
Right.
really like being empowered
Mhm.
to have a pricing structure that works for the services that I offer and the organizations that I serve.
I love
I
it.
think for me, the third thing, I have to go back to having a community. We all working on business. We hear when things get really hard. We see when people are thriving. And I
Mhm.
think seeing all of that for me, what I've been able to gather from everything we share within the Slack channel is that we all are on an individual journey. And sometimes it's hard. When it is hard, we do have the community to support us, encourage us to keep going. And when we are winning, there are other people who are celebrating with us. And I
Yeah.
think it's very inspiring to see that.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that so much. And that's so good. So for you, I know our big mantra is freelance grant writing is more financially stable than a job. And do you align with that now? You're like, now I got my processes. How do you feel keeping your job? Like keeping freelance grant writing? Is that your future?
Believe it is because whenever I think about my business, I'm thinking in regards to like a 20-year plan.
Love it.
I'm thinking about it really, for me,
Yes,
I see it as part of like my legacy. Yeah, I do see it as my legacy.
I love
I
it.
feel incredible to be like 30, to be working on something that I feel like will be useful not only for me, but also for building generational wealth, and while
Mhm.
also supporting like really great causes. I work with a lot of social justice organization, community-based organization that are really doing incredible things. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that, Daphne. I'm so excited for you. I'm so glad that you joined the academy and that you come into our world. Like, amazing work that you're doing and the legacy that you're building for generations. So, so good. So, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Daphne Jean. Yes, I often talk about being a grant writer. I
Mhm.
also like share tips with nonprofit organizations, such as the importance of building relationships with funders, but not only funders, but also other organizations doing the same thing as you. And they can also find me online at my website at SMJ Grant Consulting.com.
Love
And
it.
I'm
Love it.
also part of the directory.
Oh, yeah, you're also on the director. You were just featured this week,
Yes,
actually, when we
yes,
recorded this.
yes,
Yeah, super
yes.
excited. So check her out. Yeah, she definitely does a lot of work for social justice nonprofits. So you'll definitely want to check her out if you guys are in that field. You can see her on the Grant Writer directory and you can see her all in the show notes. So thank you so much again for coming on this podcast today, Daphne. And we will see you back inside the Academy for your six-figure year in 2025. Let's do it.